Welcome, tea friends. This is Barb Gully from Barb's Tea Service, along with my special guest, Chris Gully, who is tech support, arm candy, and fellow tea enthusiast. And today we're starting our second podcast of Barb's Tea Service Presents But First Tea. And today's topics that we're going to cover, among the topics, because we have a kind of a full plate today. We're going to talk about tea and dining etiquette, how to eat a scone, and more controversy. We don't shy away from that here.
We do not.
We're going to talk about Sconegate. But first, tea. Okay, so today I brewed up some Whitehall tea, and this is a Harney blend. It combines both black and oolong, and so it gives it kind of a nice, smooth, rounded out flavor. And the reason we picked this today was because the Whitehall tea we purchased when we were down in Palm Beach, Florida, back in January, and we visited the Flagler Museum, which was a Gilded Age mansion. It started out as Whitehall. It was the home of Henry Flagler and his third wife, Mary Lilly. And we were there, and we really liked the tea. And so I purchased a little bit more. And Chris, you were there.
I was.
And do you have any special memories or any highlights of that trip to Palm Beach?
Well, I should mention that we're kind of beginning our foray into snowbirding down in Florida in January. Try to escape the Michigan winters for a little respite. And after we're done with our stay in Central Florida, we kind of did a sauntering trip back home, and we stopped off in Palm Beach. And this is our first time into Palm Beach proper. So one of the things I kind of enjoyed was crossing the bridge over the nice blue water and seeing the biggest super yachts I have ever seen in my life parked there in the harbor. And then once you cross the bridge, you are kind of in a different world than we're used to. And so yeah, Whitehall was a grand old home that was built there by Henry Flagler, and it was a great museum, a lot of nice exhibits, and it was an interesting tea that we had there.
It was an interesting tea, and they had it in an edition of Whitehall, or the Flagler Museum, and they also have the railway cars that were owned by Henry Flagler.
It was number 91.
Number 91, yes. That's right.
And so we took a brief walk through that. So this is a restored period, Gilded Age, over the top, inside a rail car, very very nicely done, all wooden, and with a lot of interesting little artifacts to walk through. It was truly a different time and place that the one percenters lived in.
Exactly. And they had like two of my essentials that when traveling. This train car had both an indoor bathroom and a tea kettle, a place where you could a little stove.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And I did have that same feeling going into Palm Beach, and I thought, these club memberships are probably a little bit more exclusive than our Costco membership.
Yes, that could be. I don't know, but it could be.
Okay. So we're having that today, and I also want to mention that I'm drinking my Whitehall tea today out of one of my favorite tea mugs, and this will bring us into the tea etiquette that we're talking about a little bit later, but this has the first page of my tea etiquette book, and I enjoy that. Okay, so we'll get back to that. But I did want to talk a little bit about our first podcast, and believe it or not, we already had some interesting feedback
And questions.
and questions. Right. So we had some folks suggesting a couple of new topics that we are going to use for upcoming podcasts. One was about a tea that has its roots in root beer.
Yes, that's going to be something.
Yeah, it really will be. And then we had someone suggest, we had a few people actually quite interested in the tea pairing that you mentioned that we had at Lady Mendel's.
Yes.
And so we're going to cover that too, because I think that's got a lot of...
There's a lot of interesting aspects to that where
Right.
you can kind of, if you're kind of a regular tea drinker of a certain kind or brand, which is fine. It's, I kind of liken it to having your favorite, red wine or white wine that you're always going to take. But like wine, there are opportunities to pair with different servings of food and textures and that sort of thing. That might be an interesting way to kind of check other things out.
Exactly. So I think we're gonna run with that, and also explore more of the different types of tea that are out there, other than our four major categories that we talked about last week. And someone wanted to know a little bit more about Lapsang Souchong, which we'll discuss because that's a whole big topic.
It's way out there.
It's way out there.
We've tried it.
Mhm.
It's that's an acquired taste, I think.
Absolutely.
And I won't give too much away, but it's something one should try at least once in their life, just to show that they've lived.
Exactly. And I'm going to throw a little teaser out there, but remember you mentioned last week about the Boston Tea Party?
Yes.
There were 5 different kinds of teas that were thrown overboard. Souchong was one of them.
Wow.
I know. Okay. It's hold on. There's more. Okay. So another, we had actually an inquiry come in after
That's right.
the last podcast, and we mentioned that you like to use sugar tongs
That's right.
when you're adding sugar to your tea.
Uh-huh.
And someone inquired that if they do not use sugar tongs, are they considered a barbarian?
Yes, we appreciate our gentle listeners very much, and you do get interesting questions like that. And my original answer to that was, of course, you are a loathsome barbarian. Well, I didn't say loathsome, but yes, you are a barbarian. And then I discovered it was a little bit of a trick question, a kobayashi maru, if you will. And that is not a Japanese tea. That is, in fact, a Star Trek reference that I worked in. But anyway, so it turns out that this gentle listener does not, in fact, use sugar at all. And so I was kind of fooled by that question. There you go.
Threw out this trick question. And so I say, we're a no judge zone. Well, mostly. But we don't steer away from controversy, but, live and let live.
That's right.
However, this trick question, that may cause a little judgment
That's
on
right.
our part. Okay.
As it should.
So, as I mentioned, we had a very great response to our first podcast, so we really appreciate that. So there's more to come, and as we like to say so much at Barb's Tea Service, please stay tuned.
That's right.
Okay, so now we're going to turn the tables and talk a little bit more about etiquette, tea etiquette. And figured this would be a good time to talk about tea etiquette because this seemed, excuse me, a little more of my Whitehall tea. Very good. Well, you can tell it's changing seasons in Michigan, but that's another reason why afternoon teas seem to be very popular where we live this time of year because people are going to be able to start having nice outdoor tea parties in the garden. Also, Mother's Day is coming up. So if you want to take someone special, we thought that this might be a good time to throw out a few tips so you feel a little bit more comfortable when you're at tea, because really the bottom line of learning any kind of etiquette or protocol is just that you feel more confident.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you just go through the process, and then you can concentrate on things that are really important, like being the brilliant conversationalist that you are.
Well, that's correct.
You can bring up all those Star Trek references. Okay.
All right.
So I just want to do a little recap so everyone knows what we do. So we're Barb's Tea Service. We do tea talks on a variety of tea topics, tea adjacent topics, including tea etiquette. And I am authorized by the Protocol School of Washington to teach tea etiquette. And I actually wrote a book about tea and dining etiquette. And we used 12 dining and tea etiquette essentials. And Chris, do you know why we used 12?
Why do we?
I think you know, but
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. It's to keep in line with our Steeper by the Dozen series.
That's great.
So books that we've written, we try and confine ourselves to 12. So this book is unique in a number of different ways. I think the first one is that it is written and illustrated by Barb Gully. But
not you.
right. Well, I wrote it.
Yeah, you wrote it.
But I didn't do the illustration. And that was to Chris's mom, my mother-in-law, Barb Gully. And she was a great artist.
Yep.
And we worked on this. We collaborated back in 2018.
Yep.
So she was 87
Yep.
at the time. And we had so much fun.
She enjoyed that so much, and so we still have the original artwork, which is, if I may say, it's frameable. It's really quite well done.
It is,
and so it's been incorporated into the book. And she had a style of art and illustration, and it was great.
right. So sometimes people give me credit for the illustrations, but I will admit here that I always give credit to my mother-in-law.
Yep.
That was wonderful. So anyway, another unique thing about the book is that it's not just about tea etiquette, although that's a portion of it, but I think it has broad appeal.
Yep.
And it's in bite-sized pieces, like we'll talk about how you approach a scone, but it can appeal to people who want to know how to set a formal dinner table. Also, there's a section on business luncheons, which afternoon tea it's kind of taking over for the new business lunch. Instead of the 3 martinis, you can have 3 different types of tea, like our tea pairing, and everyone's happy. No regrets,
That's
right?
No.
Okay. And we talk about the business lunch if you're hosting, if you are the recipient or the guest. And we also talk about how to give a proper toast.
Yes.
So it's not just simply cheers.
Although that's fine.
That is. I mean, I think sometimes when I give toast, people wish that I had just said cheers. I tend to go on. But anyway, let's go right to the quintessential afternoon tea delight, and that is the scone.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure, Chris, you know the answer to this question because we've shared many an afternoon tea.
Yes.
But what do you think about using a knife and fork?
That is just plain wrong.
Oh, you're a traditionalist. You harken back to
That's right.
the days of yore. Yes, that's actually, if you're a traditionalist, a lot of folks like one of my mentors early on, Elizabeth Knight, she was the former tea sommelier at the St. Regis Hotel in New York. She thought using a knife and fork was an abomination.
Yes.
This is like, we don't do it. But tea etiquette says that's okay. It's okay if it's done correctly. And I would also like to reassure people that there are a number of ways to eat a scone, and most of them are acceptable.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's kind of a relief, I think. Anyway, last week we talked about things that you can add to your tea and what you shouldn't. Well, and to add to a scone, we usually do clotted cream, lemon curd, and jam. And at home, I like to, when I'm having afternoon tea at home and inviting people over, I like to use those individual little salt cellars, the large ones.
Yeah.
They're like cut glass or crystal, look like little fancy dishes, and I put in lemon curd and clotted cream. And we're going to do a whole podcast on those salt cellars.
Yes.
Again, hang on to your hat.
Can't wait.
You may have to bring in a few more Star Trek references, but okay. So, again, back to the scone. One way you can eat it is just taking that scone, using a knife, cut it straight through the middle, and then you have two halves.
Yep.
And then you can convey the curd and the cream onto your plate. And take little bite-sized pieces, or you can use a knife and fork, and you can use the fork to convey the scone to your mouth. Okay, so those are good. But as far as when you add cream or jam, there's a certain order that some people expect.
Yep.
Now, do you have a favorite that you like to add onto your scone?
In general, I pretty much do the clotted cream. The jam is kind of dependent upon my mood. If you need to know that.
Okay. Well, I think it's time to discuss Sconegate. Okay. So last week we talked about the adding salt in tea, which caused a big controversy, and that was between the U.S. and the U.K.
Right. This
time, we're out of it.
Yep.
This is strictly an inner fight.
It's a family fight.
It is a family fight.
The worst kind.
Maybe, yes. So this Sconegate was between the folks who live in Cornwall, England, and those who live in Devonshire, England.
Yep.
Okay, so the folks in Cornwall, when they apply cream and jam, they put the jam first and then the cream. But in Devonshire, they add the cream first and then the jam.
Yeah. It's an awful situation.
Are those fighting words? I don't know. But anyway, okay, so back in 2018, this tea room in Cornwall advertised a Mother's Day afternoon tea, and the ad that they used featured a scone with cream and then jam on top.
Oh, man.
So the good people of Cornwall were furious.
Yes.
And they threatened to boycott.
I think they called them bounders.
Bounders?
Bounders.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, this tea room in Cornwall, they had to issue a statement, not unlike the U.S. Embassy did that we talked about.
Right.
Okay, so they issued a statement saying that they wanted to sincerely apologize for any offense caused by a recent scone shot on the page for their advertisement. The member of the staff responsible has been reprimanded and marched back to the Tamar. It's a river that's on the border
Oh.
of Devonshire and Cornwall. Okay, so another heated topic.
You never know.
We're going to get calls. Okay, so we are. Oh, I did want to bring up about our tea etiquette book. So that is available on Amazon.
Correct.
This is it, and we do.
I don't think it made the camera.
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
Okay.
And this is my mug that has the first page.
Oh,
the mug that has the first page of that. Robbie.
Yeah.
Rob, my oldest, gave me that. Okay, so.
We're about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wanted to let everyone know that that's available on Amazon, but we also want to have a giveaway.
Yes.
We're going to give away one of these tea etiquette dining essentials at the end of the month. So anybody who's interested in the tea etiquette book, if you send a note to Barb at Barb's Tea Shop, well, I better get that right. There's nobody's gonna win.
Yeah.
It's Barb at barbsteaservice.com and write free book.
Yep.
And then we're going to put all those responses into a hat or a bonnet. And then we'll select that at the end of the month.
Excellent.
Okay. So any other thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I think it's been a great show.
Oh, I think so too. Okay. So. Oh, yep. There it is. There's that tea kettle, and it's signaling that it is time to wrap up our podcast for today. And again, we'd love to hear back from you. We really, really enjoyed the feedback from the first podcast. And thank you all. Thanks to On TV.
Yep.
We'll be back next week. And
we should mention that we're going to go see the eclipse.
That's right.
In Findlay, and I think hit a tea room while we're down there, right?
We are. That's right.
So I have some more adventures.
Excellent. Okay. So thank you again. And as always, we appreciate you staying tuned.